Welcome to Lunch with Legacy Leaders, a weekly talk show with local and national thought leaders discussing issues impacting the Black community. Now introducing our host, Miss Ann Marie Sorrell.
Good afternoon and welcome to Lunch with Legacy Leaders. I'm your host, Ann Marie Sorrell, President and CEO of the Mosaic Group. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us for this broadcast. But before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors for making the broadcast possible. Thank you to Demesman and Dover Accident Attorneys, AARP, the Florida Lottery, FAMU Mary, and All of Us Research Program at the University of Miami. Today, I am super excited. Y'all know I'm always excited, but I'm super excited because I'm joined by a young lady who just literally won her elected seat. And we're going to talk more about that because I'll tell you, Black women are doing the thing out here in politics right now. So I am joined by Ashley Gantt, who is newly elected state representative for House District 109. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, before we get started, I'm going to formally introduce you to our audience by just briefly going through your bio, and then we're going to get right into our discussion.
Okay.
So Ashley was born and raised in Miami, Florida. She graduated from the University of Florida in 2007 with a Bachelor's of Arts in English. Ms. Gantt was a 2007 Teacher for America Mississippi Delta Corps member and taught in Miami-Dade County Public Schools as a middle and high school teacher for 7 years before going to law school. In 2016, Ms. Gantt graduated from NSU Shepherd Broad College of Law. Upon being admitted to the Florida Bar, Ms. Gantt became a Broward County Assistant Public Defender in 2016, where she advocated for the citizens of Broward County for over 2 years. In 2021, Ashley pivoted from working at a large firm to opening her own law firm, Gantt Legacy Law, I love that name, PA. She specializes in criminal defense, estate planning, and probate, and personal injury. Various life experiences influence her areas of specialization and continue to fuel her ambition and drive as a practitioner. Ms. Gantt continues to be active in her community by serving on the executive board of the T.J. Reddick Bar Association. Additionally, Ms. Gantt is a board member for the Gwen S. Cherry Black Women Lawyers Association and a fellow of the Florida Bar W.M. Reese Smith Jr., I'm sure you correct me on that, Leadership Academy for Class 7. Ms. Gantt is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the University of Florida Association of Black Alumni South Florida Chapter. Ashley's commitment to her community has led her to run and win, might I add, state representative for House District 109. Welcome again, Ashley.
Thank you.
So let's kind of dive into it. I mean, I read your bio, but you went from teacher to attorney to now an elected state representative. Let's talk about that journey. What was your mindset? What made you want to even do all of those different things along the way?
Okay, so I actually have always wanted to be an attorney. It's really cliche, but I wanted to be an attorney since I was 9 years old, probably before that, if you ask my mom. And so I always knew that going to law school would be on my path. But teaching, however, was not. So I went to the University of Florida, go Gators, and I was very involved in the Black Student Union. My senior year, I was actually vice president. And I was invited to an info session with Teach for America, which sends college graduates to different areas around the country to serve a 2-year national community service commitment in a very needed area of the particular county or the particular part of the state. So I went to this info session and I was just like, oh, this sounds really cool. And I rationalized it by saying law school isn't going anywhere. So I said, okay, I can do a 2-year deviation from going to law school. I'll be fine. 2 years turned into 7 years because I fell in love with teaching. I fell in love with my students. And so I did my 2-year commitment in Mississippi, and then I came back home. And when I came back home, I taught at my alma mater, Miami Carroll City Senior High School, go Chiefs. And Then I taught at Alapata Middle School. And I came to a crossroads in my life, and I was just like, well, I'm really good at this teaching thing. Am I going to pursue administration, or am I going to, keep my promise to myself and go to law school? I decided to go to law school because that's always what I wanted to do. And so that's how I pivoted from teaching to becoming an attorney. And then early on in my career, actually, my very first judge as a public defender, he is a former representative for the state of Florida. And he was like, you should run. And I was like, run for what, Judge? He was like, you should run for a state rep. I think you'd be good. I was like, Judge, I got a lot of the opinions that that people might not really care for. He was like, that's why we need you in Tallahassee. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm serving my community, involved with various organizations. I like my anonymity. I'm good. And also involved in that was fear, right? No one in my family had ever, at that point, early on in my career, nobody in my family had run for office yet. And then, I was just like, nah, like it's not for me. Fast forward, I was inspired by my cousin Cedric McMinn. He actually ran for the same seat. And I was still like, I don't know, like it's a lot. I don't know if I'm capable of it. And then in 2022, when I saw all the disenfranchising laws that were being passed and would eventually become law in Florida, and then I saw the votes of the former representative, I was just like, I'm a doer. I do stuff. And when I see problems, that's part of my personality. Like, I'm solution oriented. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna run. And it was no planned action. It was just, I saw the need. And here I am, thankful, so grateful, so thankful as the state representative elect for the district that I grew up in.
So tell us more about the district. Like, where does your district span for those who may not be familiar with District 109?
Okay, so it's kind of it's very much gerrymandered. Okay, like most of the redistrict maps. So it starts on 22nd Street. So if we go east to west, so the furthest east I go is Biscayne Boulevard. Everything west of Biscayne Boulevard, and furthest west I go is like 37th Avenue. But it depends on the street. So when we're talking about, I have some downtown. So starting from 22nd Street to Flagler. So downtown, and then we wrap around to Overtown, Alapata, Liberty City, Brownsville, unincorporated Dade, which we call West Little River. I have some Arcola Lakes area, West Little River, Westview, up to Opelika. So the northernmost street is 151st Street, and the southernmost street is Flagler.
Wow, that is very gerrymandered. That's a pretty wide district throughout the county.
Yeah. And so some parts, it goes from Biscayne over to 7th Avenue, over to 10th Avenue, and so on and so forth. So when you get on 95th Street, 17th Avenue, straight up to 151st Street. So 17th and 95th Street, where Central and Turner Tech are, all the way up to 151st Street is part of District 109. And then going west to like 37th Avenue, but it's very interesting because I have the Opelika Airport, but I don't have the Opelika Industrial Complex in my district. But it's like, how do you do that? So, okay. So yeah, it just, so those are the neighborhoods. I usually go by neighborhoods and cities.
Wow. So this was your first time running for public office, right?
Yeah.
So your first time running for public office, and you not only won, but you defeated James Bush, a seasoned politician. How does that victory feel for you?
I'm still processing it, honestly, because I'm like, oh my God, I did this. Well, my team, we did it, and my community. It feels good to know that my community is ready for a change. That's what feels good. To know that they put their faith and trust in me, that feels amazing. And it's really actually an honor to be in this position because I grew up in the district. So I grew up seeing his signs all over the place in the 90s and everything. And so it's more about my community understanding and desiring change and leadership as opposed to just defeating him, I think is bigger than both of us as individuals. I think we have to look at the collective and think about, where do we want our community to go? This is home. This is, a piece of my history. How do I want my children to, my nieces and nephews, my little cousins, how do I want them to experience the place that I love so much? And not even just, the children in my family, all the kids in the district. And, on a broader scale in Florida, how do I want the future to be able to experience their lives as adults? And that's, kind of how I go back to my why, and I remember why I'm doing this. And I always have to go back when, it was hard. It was extremely hard. And so on those days where my anxiety was through the roof, and I wanted to cry my eyes out, but I kept pushing through, I had to go back to my why. So it feels great.
Well, that's amazing, Ashley, and a big congratulations to you. With this change that you are now bringing to the voters and residents of District 109, but also to, Tallahassee, which represents, laws and different decisions that are made represent citizens of Florida in general, but particularly for your district and for the citizens of Florida. What does your representation look like? What does it mean when it comes to change? What are you going to be fighting for?
I think we have to look at the big picture, right? We see that the federal government is giving more rights to states. And so when we look at states getting this a lot more say so over what happens in our day-to-day lives, my election in the seat, and hopefully the election of a whole bunch of other progressive Democrats who are younger, it is a nod and an indication that the politics as usual will not be able to sustain us into a progressive future, a future where we prioritize climate change, a future where we understand that livable wages is a right, and it's not something that should be debated about. People who go to work, who do the hard work, and they should be able to support their families, and then going further, they should be able to afford a place to live in their home, or where they choose, or where they can afford. And so I think that going to Tallahassee, I'm not under any delusions that that we are not in a minority, because Democrats are very much in a minority. But my experiences as an attorney, particularly as a criminal defense attorney and a former public defender, some days I was in court and I was the only one on my side, including my clients. Was like, what are you doing? So I had the state, sometimes the clerk, sometimes the court reporter, the judge, and my client looking at me crazy. And I had to stand my ground. I had to say, well, this is what I'm requesting, or I'm advocating for my client. Sometimes, even though I had a conversation with my client, they might change their mind or flip the script. I'm like, we're going forward with the conversation, or with what was agreed, and so on and so forth. And so it's about building relationships. And so I very much understand that. I look forward to building relationships, getting things done, which I am accustomed to in my practice, while not compromising the integrity of, first of all, myself, my community, and making sure that it's the long game, like setting us up for the future, setting our future up to have a future where they can do and be anything that they want. So I am hopeful that, it is an indication that there is a tide turning in Florida, where disenfranchisement and culture wars and media taglines are not the norm anymore.
That's great. Well, you definitely have a fight. You and the other representatives and state senators, particularly on the Democratic side, definitely have your hands full. This past legislative session this year was brutal, as we know. There are many things that was pushed through and the governor signed off on, from, abortion bans to stop woke to don't say gay to, I mean, even my little elected seat that represents soil and water conservation districts, there was a push to ban those. And then they changed the game on what qualifications, and the governor changed, like literally signed into law, new qualifications for soil and water districts across the state, right? So there was so much under attack this past legislative session. And I'm sure that it's not going to be any different this upcoming legislation. Even if the governor changes, there's still quite a few, still a Republican stronghold. So what do you feel are going to be some of the largest fights or the biggest issues that are probably going to come up in the upcoming legislative session that's coming up in the next 4 to 6 months?
I could definitely say abortion rights and reproductive rights for sure, but that's as far as I can answer. I don't. I'm not sure. I know that public education is under attack, so I fully expect it to be for them to dig in their heels. That's why this election in November is monumentally important. We need a new governor. We need new cabinet members. Everything, like, it's not in separate silos. We can't look at it in separate pods. We have to look at it, all together. We have a lot of general elections where Democratic candidates are going up against Republicans to unseat them. So, that's as complete as I can answer the question. I don't have a full complete answer. It's been a week and a day.
Well, no, of course. I mean, I don't expect you to have a full answer, but just what you may be anticipating. What you mentioned some of it, and we don't know how the tides are going to turn, but I do know that they're always planning and different laws that are going to be petitioned to either be changed, or new laws that will be petitioned to go into effect. So, and I know they're not always favorable. So, especially after the elections, I'm sure there are probably going to be more voter laws that are going to be, passed. And, so, I think you're definitely going to have a challenge from what we've seen in the past. Now, I want to ask you, when we talk about, 3 Black women have won statewide Democratic nominations. That's, moving forward on the ballot for November. And here you are, you've won your election. So my first question is, what does this say about the future of politics and Black women?
Well, I think that, you know how people always say Black women gonna save us and never give us the credit after, or give us our due justice in form of policy and legislation? Well, I think that that's going to change. Black women, we have always been in the paint, so to speak, right? And I know I was personally tired of being the representative consciousness of the country without actions that align with that. So without pay equity, without providing qualitative quantity healthcare for Black women when it comes to reproductive rights and maternity and everything like that. So I think that we will see some tangible changes all around that reflect what this country purports itself to stand for, with these amazing and dynamic Black women on the ballot. Because we got to get out and vote for Val Demings. Like, we have to. She'll be the first Black woman senator in the state of Florida.
Yes.
And that is monumental, not only just for, the fact that we will be able to get legislation passed federally, but just what it represents for even for women like me. Like, you know, like there's no limit. And when we think about every space that I've entered, with the exception of being a teacher, because we know that traditionally, like Black women teachers of old were, you know, pillars in our community and continue to be. But like even in the spaces in my legal career, I wasn't contemplated to be in any of those spaces. So on a like cultural level, it means that we are taking up the space that we are supposed to take up without being apologetic about it and without having to fit into any tropes. And if they do want to assign us a trope, okay, we still getting the job done. Like you can't control what everybody thinks of you. So I think that is a signal that the country, as the country continues to brown, that equality, equity will be on the table for all people, and not, you know, some people and some people others in just word, but it will actually be able to be on the table in deed and action. So I'm very hopeful and excited, and yeah, we just got to show up. I want to expound on that a little bit. So I had an interview yesterday with a reporter, and a point that I made was the largest block of voters are non-voters. So we need to engage them. We need to empower them so that they can come out and actually show up. And people need to understand that apathy is dangerous and deadly. And we see what apathy has gotten us now. Andrew Gillum lost by 30,000 votes. You know, we could have done that. We could have, you know, sent out text messages, made sure people voted like within our network, and we could have gotten over the line. And the last some odd years would have been totally different in Florida. So we just have to engage and empower and like take it as a personal responsibility to make sure that our friends and family and everything, they get out and vote blue, not just vote, but vote blue.
Absolutely. I agree. Not, you know, let me just put that disclaimer out there. Legacy does not endorse any particular candidate or political party. But Ann Marie personally agrees with your statement.
Everything before when I said vote blue, she agrees with. The vote blue is all
right. No. So, but I want to kind of expand that question, but on a progressive side. Because, you know, just like on the Republican Party, there's a split where you had your more moderate traditional Republicans, and now you have, I don't even know what to call this Trump. New T/Trump Republican Party. But then on the Democratic side, you have what you know, your quote unquote traditional Democrats, but then now you have a more progressive part of the Democratic Party, which you represent, I assume, because you mentioned being a progressive. So what and progressives are younger, more unapologetic, and just really out here getting things moving and done. So what does that tug of war kind of look like, within the party, but then up against your new Republicans, so to speak, and new Democrats that are progressive? What is that dynamic? How does that dynamic continue to play out from your perspective? And I know I just said a whole mouthful.
Like I don't. I think it's a matter of when it comes to, you know, blue Democrats versus Republicans. It's a matter of regression and versus progression. It's a matter of actual freedom where people can be who they decide to be versus fitting into a box that only includes a certain person or look or race or even educational background. And when it comes to like within the party, I mean, a lot of progressives are younger, and I'm a true millennial. And so when I think about my adulthood, We had 9/11 when I was in high school. We had the market crash, the housing crisis. We have mounting and like just suffocating student loan debt. We have the pandemic. It's like so many things that have happened during our adulthood. And it's like we have no option but to advocate for ourselves because we've had to continuously overcome and adapt and pivot to all of these things that have happened during our lifetime. And the oldest millennial is 41. And so, just thinking about all of our experiences that we've had, like when we think that we're being progressive, are we being that progressive, or are we adapting and changing to what we've had to adapt and to change to? And like you can't buy a house for $75,000 anymore. So we have to adjust this system that was in place when homes were $75,000 and you only needed a high school diploma to get a really good paying job with a pension. Like that's not our reality anymore. And so I don't know if it's, like a true progressive stance or just we have to move with what we've been faced with in our adulthood and what the system is doing. So either we're going to update the system, which means updating the minimum wage, updating healthcare, updating educational standards, and everything in totality. And that's what we're advocating for. And it's really crazy to me to think that I am labeled a progressive because I want women to be able to control their bodies. It's like, are we that progressive? Like, are we, or are we just saying that enough is enough of the limitations, the disenfranchisement, the exclusion and the discrimination? Because that's honestly what it is. If you look at historically about home ownership with Black people, the federal government itself, there are books, studies, articles, everything that you can get your hands on. We have the internet. Everybody and anybody can access it. The library has free books and audiobooks. If you don't want to pick up a book, you can listen to the book. And it gives you all this information and gives you the history of how the federal government disenfranchised Black people from being able to own a home. And we're still dealing with those impacts and effects of that. So I hope I answered your question.
No, you did. You gave a really good perspective. And I think that's so important because some people are stuck in doing things the way it's always been done. This is how we've always won elections. These are the issues we've always talked about. And for, like you said, I'm on the end of the millennial. It's, we have gone through these different things in life and they have impacted us differently where we all, we've had to adjust and adapt, and you can't keep doing business as usual. So I think that was a good perspective into someone who may be listening who doesn't understand what the term, and maybe it shouldn't be the term progressive, right? But the term that has been labeled for persons who think like yourself, Ashley. So I think it's good to hear the perspective. At the end of the day, I think we all, as most humans, want the same things, but we just look at how we go about getting it in a different way. So with that being said, what advice can you share, or would you like to share, for Black women and girls, young girls out there that see you in this role, or that's going to see you in this new role, as well as other Black women that are blazing the trails right now?
Oh, one of my personal heroes is Harriet Tubman. That woman was bad. Okay, like just think about it. She was amazing. I doubt that she never had moments of fear. I doubt that she never had moments of doubt. I doubt that people told her not, like, no, that's not for you. I doubt that she never felt or questioned herself when she entered into different spaces that literally it was probably illegal for her to enter, So I say there is no wait your turn. If these people think that they can capitalize on our labor and our moral compass that we somehow are the only ones that always have, when it comes to voting and other things, like, then you own that space and you step into that space confidently. And when I say confidently, that can include being scared, your voice shaking, questions of doubt, and everything else, because anxiety, I've experienced all of that throughout this process. I love Brene Brown's work. Brene Brown is phenomenal. She does shame research and she's written several books. And so I've read her books, and those the lessons continuously give me courage to say that I'm in the arena. I might be bloodied, I might be beaten, but I'm in the arena, and I will not take any shaming, any criticism from anybody in the stands, because they have no idea what's going on in here. But I'm here. I showed up to the fight. I'm standing my ground. I'm taking up space, and you're going to hear me. You're going to know who I am, because for me, service is part of my purpose, and it's never just about me. I gave up my anonymity. I gave up my status as a private citizen. I'm now a public figure. And so that's a lot to give up. And for it to just be about me or vanity, that doesn't make any sense to me, because I like going to Target, with my hair not done or with some sweats and some flip-flops, like I liked, going out however I wanted to look, and nobody questioning or scrutinizing me or saying, oh, that's this person. But I know that it's bigger than me. And so whatever it is, if it's a new job, if it's a new business, like I started my law firm, and this has been a challenging experience. And to have a new business and running for office, by the grace of God, I'm here. And some support from some strategic people, some people that definitely love me, because I honestly don't know how I did it, but I did it, and I'm here. And it's not going to be easy sometimes. You are going to cry. You are going to have anxiety, but you got to, if this is for you and you evaluate if this something is truly for you, you can do it. Like, everything that I learned, experience has become part of my lesson for whatever is next for me. And so just own it and know that you are there for a reason. And the way that things align for me with this campaign, I know that it is only divine alignment, only. And so, my advice would be, you are one of one. This world will never see you again, and has never seen you, and will never see you again. So embrace your beautiful uniqueness and give the world whatever unique creativity and purpose that you are here for, because nobody can ever do it like you. So that's my advice.
Well, listen, I love your advice. You said a whole word. Definitely inspired me this morning. Thank you or this afternoon. Thank you for this inspiration that you've shared with me. And I hope those who are listening will take that same inspiration. You're one of one. I love that. Like, so Ashley, before we, and let me backtrack, State Representative Gantt. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience before we close out?
Yes. Time to register to vote is, I think, October 11th, but I know it's October. So we have at least a month. If you know anybody who has a felony conviction, they are not on probation, but they have fees and fines, they can contact the Florida Restoration of Rights Coalition. I don't work for Florida Restoration of Rights Coalition. I just love the work that they do. They will help you pay your fines so that they can register to vote. If they don't have any fines or fees outstanding, they can register to vote. There are some convictions that exempt you from being able to get your right to vote back. And you can double check that online, or you can even call the supervisor of elections and just double check it, because DeSantis is over here trying to, his agency was responsible for giving people the right to vote when they weren't supposed to be able to give it based on their charges. But anyway, we have to engage. We got to vote. It is a life and death situation. And every election really is, because we have to keep people accountable who are supposed to be serving us. So get out there. If you can donate $5 or $10 to a candidate, please. Every single cent helps. So that's the last words that I want to leave.
And volunteer. I know folks don't want to volunteer anymore, but volunteer, make some phone calls, go hold some signs, go knock on some doors for a candidate that you believe in, and just get involved, get active. It's actually kind of fun sometimes when you're out there. It'd be a little hot, but
it's hot. But you know what? Right, you burn some calories and you meet people.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, State Representative Gantt. We appreciate you joining us today on Lunch with Legacy Leaders. This has been such a phenomenal pleasure and a great conversation with you. And of course, our team at Legacy look forward to what you're going to accomplish in Tallahassee on behalf of the citizens of District 109 and the citizens of the state of Florida. We are rooting for you, and any way that we can support you in your role in Tallahassee, please feel free to reach out to us. Whatever you have going on, please feel free to share. As you know, Legacy has a email newsletter, and we can put announcements in that newsletter. It goes out every week. So don't be afraid to share what's happening in your district so that we can, be an extension of just keeping people in the know and keeping people informed. That's what we do here at MIA Media Group and Lunch with Legacy Leaders. So stay with me. I have just a few quick announcements. Before we close out, I want to thank our sponsors again, Demesman and Dover Accident Attorneys, AARP, the Florida Lottery, FAMU Mary, and All of Us Research Program at the University of Miami. Don't forget to check out our current issue, which is our 40 Under 40, where we are honoring those professionals under the age of 40 throughout South Florida. Congratulations to all of the honorees. Of course, we also have a new special issue that is being released, I believe, today. It's the Orange Blossom Classic issue for those who did not go last year. Well, don't be afraid. You can come this year, which is this weekend, the Orange Blossom Classic, which will take place at the Hard Rock Stadium. And it's between my alma mater, Florida A&M, the Florida A&M University, and Jackson State University. So it's going to be all the way live this weekend in Miami. Make sure you check out the issue for the Orange Blossom Classic. And you can check out both issues at miamediagroup.com. That's miamediagrp.com. Of course, we have all of our other shows. We have something for everyone. On Mondays, The Business of Black Business at 1 p.m. with Jay Reynolds. Tuesday, My Money, Your Money at 7 p.m. with Bridget Lumpkins. Wednesday, Soul at 7 p.m. with Nikki Jellin. Thursdays with yours truly, Lunch with Legacy Leaders at noon. And Flavor of South Florida, where we're giving you the best taste of South Florida and the Black-owned restaurants with Chef Irie at 7 p.m. And of course, we can't forget your health, Black Health Fridays at 2 p.m. with Dr. Michelle Kerwin. So please check out all of our shows. Be sure to share this video because there's definitely some information in here that someone will be able to use to better their lives. And also, don't forget to mark your calendar and join us again next Thursday at noon. Have a wonderful day, and thank you again, Ashley, Representative Gantt, for joining us.
Thank you so much.